ground rules again for those of you who are joining us for the first time, or if this is your second time, just a little refresher. How this is going to work is we're going to go through the assignments, and as I walk through them, I'll talk through my thought process and what ways I can help you. You can submit questions while I'm going through the chat box. Just type it in and make sure that you are being clear with your questions so I can know what you're asking. And then if after the assignment, I'll go back to the chat screen to go through the questions and answer them. Sometimes, like the theme and central ideas reading questions, I'll ask you to submit your answer in the chat box. So I might say, do you believe the answer is 1, 2, or 3? And that's where I'm asking you to be brave and submit your answer. I'll go through what you guys think is the answer, and then we'll talk about whether it's right or not, okay? Send in the chat box right now if you understand the rules. Just say okay or sounds good. And I'll wait till I hear from everyone. All right. Just waiting on one more person. I just want to make sure everyone understands. So I have Parker, I have Taylor, Kaylee, Star. Okay, I think I got everyone. And all right, so send in the chat box right now if you would like to start with your reading homework or your writing homework. I'm going to post a video today about the grammar homework, so we're not going to go over that today. So just let me know if you want help with writing or reading. All right, Kaylin says writing, Taylor says reading. Anyone else want to break the tie? Writing or reading? All right. How about we start with writing? All right. Give me 1 sec to make sure I switch over the tabs. All right. You guys should be seeing the brainstorming prompt for next week. Is that correct? Just someone tell me if you can see that. Okay, perfect. All right, so this writing is actually really easy this week because I don't have a lot of rules for what it should look like. So this is preparing for next week. So your last week of school, you're only going to have one assignment. And that assignment is that you're going to be writing a letter to yourself to read later, to think about your experiences in both 7th grade and what you hope for 8th grade. So I've been telling people you can take this one of two ways. Either you can write a letter to your past self and say, you know, you don't have to worry about 7th grade. This is what I've gone through. These are the things you'll experience. And this is what fun things you'll do. And this is what I've learned. Or you can write a letter to your future self in 8th grade and say, you know what, 7th grade prepared me in these types of ways. I hope in 8th grade we get to do this and this and this. That way, if you look back on this letter, it's a fun little reflection activity for yourself. Okay, so in this brainstorming section, you're going to you can do really whatever you want because this is just to help you think about next week. So I've seen a couple people do a couple different things. So I've heard some people make a list. So they just listed all the things that happened this year. So some people have said they want to talk about the outsiders. Some people say they want to make sure they talk about COVID. Some people are talking about the new friends they made. Maybe your favorite class. Or something funny that happened in the year. Some things to think about for like next year, some questions you have for 8th grade. What teachers do you hope to have? How do you think school will look different in the fall? You know, that's the big question on everyone's mind. How is school going to be different? And so this is just your opportunity to think through ideas. So you can make a list, or I've seen a couple people get creative and make thinking maps on here. So a way that you can do that, and I'll just show you, is you can insert little like pictures is not necessarily the right word. I gotta find them. Give me one sec. Insert. Is it drawing? No. So you can like make a table if you want to think about ideas. So you can write in the tables like that. If you want to section your ideas like that. Or you could even, because this, I'm not really grading what you have written down for your brainstorming. I'm just grading next week's letter. You can even print this out and write it out if you'd like, because I just need to hear this to see the submit button. And if you print it out and write it out, that's totally okay. Just write something on the document online. And when you press done, let me know that you did that. Okay. So are there any questions about that assignment about brainstorming? And Kaylin F, yes, I do have Grammarly. Thanks for noticing. So does that make a little more sense about what you're doing for brainstorming? Taylor says he's got it. Kaylin says yes. Kaylee loves Grammarly. We all love Grammarly. It's the best. And she says yes. All right. Any last questions about how to brainstorm for next week? Next week's assignment is supposed to be fun because it's your last one. All right. Okay, so are we ready to move on to the reading homework? All right. Do you guys want to do the theme reading homework or the central idea homework first? Theme or central idea? You only have 2 this week. All right. If you don't need help with your reading homework, you're free to log off, or you can sit and just listen to it. All right, so let's go to theme. Let me share this tab instead. All right, so I said this last week, but it's good to always have a reminder that you want to make sure that your email address is up here, because that's how I can signal who your responses, and you can actually get your answers back. But you also don't want to just leave it at that. You also need to put your name, because your guys' emails are funky and they're just a bunch of numbers. And I don't know your numbers off the top of my head, but I do know your names off the top of my head. So make sure that you put your name, okay? All right, so how we're going to do this is I'm going to read the passage, and then we're going to go through the questions about what you should be thinking about, how you can answer it, and then I will actually ask you what you think the right answer is. All right, for the theme reading, it says, Day 5. The calendar had said mother and son dinner all week, but somehow Axel had forgotten about their plans when Friday morning came around. At breakfast, he asked his mom if he could go to his friend's house after school. Judging by the look on his mom's face, he thought she would say no, but she said that it was fine and not to be late. He had no idea what she meant by not being late, but he was so elated that she said yes that he had just ignored it. The school day seemed to go by slowly, but finally the bell rang to herald the end of the day. Axel was invited to stay for dinner as soon as he got to his friend's house. He immediately said yes, knowing that his mom wouldn't mind. Axel and his friend hung out and played video games, and he only realized that he hadn't asked permission to stay later when his friend's mom announced that dinner was ready. He hadn't checked his phone in a while and had several messages from his mom and a missed call. The messages were asking where he was. He didn't think too much of it until he got a message from his sister asking where he was that included a picture of the calendar. Axel's heart dropped and he immediately ran home. When he got home, he saw that his mom had cooked all of his favorite foods and was watching his favorite movie in the living room alone. Oh, such a sad story. But sometimes those are the most gripping because you want to know what happens next. Okay, so remember, theme just overall is just the lesson that you learn from a story. So like the theme of the 3 Little Pigs, if you know that story, is it's better to build a sturdy home so it doesn't get knocked over. So taking time to actually put in the work will help in the long run. If you think about the theme of like Little Red Riding Hood, that would be to not just assume that everything's good and dandy always, but to be looking at the details. Like when she notices that her grandma is not her grandma, it's actually the wolf. So that's like themes of stories. So when we talk about theme, we also need to talk about like word usage. So the meaning behind words. And this is what the first question is about. What is the meaning of elated? So the first thing you want to do is to find elated in the sentence. So if we go up here, it's underlined. It says he had, he had no idea what she meant by not being late, but he was so elated that she said yes that he just ignored it. So an easy way, if you don't know off the top of your head what elated means, is to substitute the word with the options. And then you can knock out which words definitely don't make sense. So let's look at it through the options. He had no idea what she meant by not being late, but he was so confused that she said yes that he just ignored it. Okay, so confused, it seems a little off, but let's go through the other options. He had no idea what she meant by not being late, but he was so excited that she said yes that he just ignored it. Okay, getting better. And then the third option. He had no idea what she meant by not being late, but he was so annoyed that she said yes that he just ignored it. All right, so based off of those substitutions, send in the chat box right now which answer you think it is. 1, 2, or 3. Taylor, Kaylee, and Kaylin say 2, and Star says 1. All right, so the answer is 2, excited, because of the fact that it's asking how he feels about being able to stay late. So while he's confused about his mom's answer, elated is signaling how he feels about getting to stay at the house. So is he excited or annoyed about that? He's excited. So we know annoyed can't be that. Confused, while I get where you're going with that with Star, you have to make sure you're seeing which words connect. So elated is signaling to the fact that he gets to go over, and that's what he's excited about. He's confused about her about why she was acting weird, but that's not what the sentence is about. So the answer would be excited. Nice job. All right, so what word or words helped you determine the answer to 1? Just what I talked about. So when we look at the words from the sentence, but he was so elated or excited that she said yes, that he just ignored it. Immediately what I think of that helped me recognize that it was about excitement is the fact that he was so excited that he ignored it. Because when someone is ignoring something, it's for a multitude of reasons. How many times have you guys forgotten to do your homework or forgotten to do your reading homework because you were so excited about other plans you had? That's the exact same thing. So when you enter in words, just make sure to put quotation marks. Because this is 2 paragraphs, you're just going to say paragraph 1. And that's good enough for me. All right, we're going to go back to another definition. What is the meaning of herald? Number 1, signal. 2, delay. 3, introduce. So let's go back to the paragraph. But finally, the bell rang to herald the end of the day. All right, so do you think it's signal, delay, or introduce? Now I'll show you the sentence. Herald. Enter 1, 2, or 3. All right, seems like everyone's saying 1. And Kaylin, I just saw your question. Is it okay that I put words from the sentences as answers? Yes, that's totally okay. All right, everyone says 1. And guess what, guys? You're all correct. You're so smart. Yeah, it's to signal the end of the day. You guys know this. When you hear the bell, it signals to you guys that it's the next class or it's the end of the day. So what word or words helped you determine the answer to number 3? If we look at that sentence, but finally the bell rang to herald the end of the day, I would say end of the day is what signals to me that it's about signal. So end of the day, paragraph 1. All right, make sure you have those quotation marks. And then what is the theme of today's passage? So this is what I want to hear from you guys. What do you think the message is about this story? What should we take away from the story? I'll put the story back up for you. I want to hear some answers. What is the message of this story? Okay, Kaylee says, always check your calendar. Interesting. I like that. Always check your calendar. What could be another possible theme? Pay attention. Okay. Always check your phone or messages. Yes, that could be a theme as well. So the thing with theme is sometimes stories have multiple themes. So I actually think all of your answers are correct because what's something that you can take away from the story? There's multiple things you can take away from stories. Outsiders has, when we read Outsider, there were so many themes from the story. The theme about caring for your family, the theme about that money equals power, or the theme of making sure that you always have your friends back. All of those were themes depending on what you were focusing on. So yeah, there could be multiple answers for that. And then the final one, write a summary of today's passage. You guys do this all the time. A summary is just recapping what was going on. So tell me the main points. What did you learn? Who was involved? So what were some things in the story that you would need to make sure your summary has? And you can send it in the chat box. What were some key details that your summary would need? Who was the story about, guys? Who was it about? It didn't have a name. Oh, wait, yeah, it did have a name. Axel. And who else? It was about some other person in Axel's life. Yeah, it was about Axel and his mom. And about what? What was the story about for Axel and his mom? What was the main problem? It was about a mother-son dinner and what happened with the dinner. Yeah, Caitlin's right. It's the fact that he forgot about the dinner. So that relates to your point, Taylor, that you said about not being together. So you're going to need to make sure to include all those parts for it to be a full summary. Because the reading was 2 paragraphs, I would say your summary probably needs to be about 4 sentences. Okay? So a summary is not 1 sentence. A summary needs to be multiple sentences. All right? Any last questions about the theme reading, or are we good to move on to central idea? All right, Taylor says he's good. How about everyone else? All right. So we're going to move on to the final one. Welcome, Jasmine. You're joining us for the central idea and inferencing reading. So let me know, do you guys see the central ideas and inferencing week 8 reading on your screen? Okay, I got a yes. So I'm going to take it that everyone's is like that. All right, so central idea and inferencing is similar to theme, but a little different because of a key factor. So while theme is about the message that you take away from a story, central idea is the main point. So a message can be different than the main point. So in the last story we read, the main point was that he forgot about the dinner. But the message was the fact that you should be checking your calendar to know about events going on. So that's how it's different. While inferencing is our ability to read between the lines and to think about what is the author saying without actually saying it. Okay? So let's read this reading. Day 5. For anyone looking forward to sledding and playing in the snow, freezing rain can be a frustrating disappointment. Along with snow and sleet, freezing rain is a type of winter precipitation. Freezing rain occurs when liquid precipitation falls and freezes when it comes into contact with surfaces that are below freezing. Freezing rain happens when the air in the atmosphere is above freezing, which either melts precipitation that would have fallen as snow or sleet, or prevents it from freezing to begin with. The rain then falls through a colder layer of air, which acts to cool the rain down, allowing some of it to freeze as soon as it lands on the freezing surface. This can occur on trees, power lines, sidewalks, and even roadways. Freezing rain can cause significant damage and disruption to a daily life when anything more than a glaze falls. Even a light glaze on sidewalks and roadways can make walking and driving anywhere incredibly dangerous. Freezing rain that accumulates to more than 1/4 of an inch can cause downed trees, which can take weeks to clean up. The weight of an ice on trees and power lines can also cause widespread power outages, which cause great inconveniences to people and can even cause safety hazards. Repairing a downed power line or restoring power can take days or longer. So, when we talk about the central idea of today's passage, remember the main point. So, what is the main point of this passage? 1, fallen trees can cause power outages and take time to clean up. 2, freezing rain can occur on power lines and sidewalks. Or 3, freezing rain falls as a liquid and can cause a lot of damage. So what is the main point of this reading? 1, 2, or 3? I hear Taylor says 3, Star says 3, Kaylee is 3. I would agree. It is 3. And the reason why it is 3 and not 1 is just a detail. The fact that it can cause power outages and cleanup, that's just a detail. But that's not the main point. The main point is that freezing rain falls as a liquid and can cause a lot of damage. So to answer your question, Kaylin, about whether it's a solid or a liquid, when rain falls, it's a liquid, but as soon as it freezes on the floor, it becomes a solid. Does that make sense, Kaylin? Okay, cool. All right, let's move to the second one. What inference can be made about today's passage? So remember, this is what the author is saying without saying it. So 1, repairing fallen power lines can be a complicated process. 2, warmer air temperatures in the atmosphere are uncommon. Or 3, sleet is the most common type of winter precipitation. 1, 2, or 3? Kaylin says 1. Jasmine says 1. Kaylee says 1. Taylor says 3. Oh, he says 1. Okay, he changes his answer. Yeah, you guys are all right. It's 1. And the reason why it's 1 is because while it doesn't say it's a complicated process directly in the text, based off of the details he gives us about the power lines, we know that it's not easy. It's not simple. So the opposite of that would be complicated. So yeah, you guys are right. And then the third question, what is the meaning of accumulates as it is used in the passage? So 1, falls. 2, deteriorates. Or 3, builds up. Let's look at the sentence to see. Accumulates. It's in the second paragraph. Freezing rain that accumulates to more than 1/4 of an inch can cause downed trees. So does that mean it falls, it deteriorates, or builds up? What do you think? 1, 2, or 3? Everyone says 3. All right. Yeah, you got, yeah, you're right. It's builds up. So falls and deteriorates means that it takes away. Builds up means that it gains. So you guys are right. And then write a summary of today's passage. That's the same thing as we talked about before. You're going to include the main details. What was the main point of it? So you can take your answer from number 1 and include it in your summary. And then who was involved? What was it about? And then what did you learn? So that's going to be your summary. And that also is going to be about 4 sentences. All right. Are there any questions about that? Taylor, Linda is a para in our group. That's why. She's in my 3rd period class. All right. If there are no more questions, are there any more questions about any of the assignments? All right. If you're good to go, you can log off and feel free to join us next week when we do one last Google Meet as classes. So you can say goodbye to me during the last week. But this is our last live lesson. Thanks for joining me. But you can log off. Bye, guys. Oh, Jasmine, don't log. Oh, Jasmine already logged off. Never mind.